London.
Hello. We're live.
This is actually our first experience of doing Facebook Live.
Yeah, so if it sucks, be kind.
Be kind. I did Facebook Live a couple of years ago promoting a movie, but that was different. It wasn't like at home and it wasn't just us pressing record. So here we are. And it's our comfy sofa where we're gonna start the first topic of this evening, which is gonna be about traveling
Between
London and LA,
which we spend a lot of time in.
Yeah, because we live in both cities, but each one of us has his own experiences. Because actually, when was your first time when you went to LA?
I went to LA the first time in 2012. I went for a week in 2012 for a bunch of meetings to make a conscious choice if I was going to pursue being able to work legitimately in Hollywood.
Right, that's actually crazy because we knew of each other, but we were not even friends at that time. But I was familiar with your work, and my first time in America was also 2012, which is very, very strange coincidence. But we met like many years after. So your experiences, and by the way, you were born in London. I came to London again in 2012 for the first time. I lived here a couple of months and then I moved to LA. So our experiences are different, but the fact is that we share both towns. And so how was your first when you first arrived to Hollywood, what did you do? After being in London, after being like a Londoner,
so
I love London.
I have to be honest, I wasn't blown away. The thing I loved was walking into like coffee shops and bars and just overhearing conversations of creatives, like people just huddled together, like talking about a script they're working on or a film they're trying to get off the ground or an animation they have an idea for, and that's kind of like everywhere. So that was weird because it was like, for people that really know me know that I'm a little creative kind of bubble.
You are creative.
I'm a bit of a kid, I have ideas and I create stuff, but they're not in my head. I get them out there, graphic novels and children's books but it was kind of the first time I'd been somewhere I was like, wow, there's lots of people like me.
Everybody around the world packed their bags and left their families and came to LA to pursue their dreams.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. And then like Hollywood, I was like, because again, if you know me, I had a career as a fighter, so I've been in some pretty dark and interesting places in my life, and Hollywood was kind of like, this is it, okay. But I love the fact that there's just courses and workshops and classes were so accessible.
Yeah, I have to say that like the best teachers are probably in LA and they're so accessible.
Yeah, it doesn't just draw like talent in the acting business, or it also draws talent in terms of coaches, and even if they're like teaching out of London and Europe, Australia, they actually come there to host workshops and stuff. So that was kind of cool. And then little things like being able to walk to Freddie Roach's Wildcard Boxing Gym was amazing, and just training amongst legends was just phenomenal. And they're obviously, they're 7 years in, so that was pretty cool. But for me, it just didn't. I wasn't kind of like I wasn't overwhelmed by it, and I wasn't kind of sucked in by it. And I made a conscious choice to kind of like keep a clear head, not be a party boy, and just focus on the business. And so my first week there, I had a bunch of meetings with some agents and managers, and that was very interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you drive to the meetings or you walk to the meetings? That's another thing about LA, because America in general, you gotta drive everywhere.
Yeah, well, I that week in particular, I hired a car, but London, LA. The thing I love about London is I love and we're in a very, I think we're in a lovely part of London, Richmond upon Thames, which is like the borough of Richmond upon Thames, and we have like Twickenham, Tenton, Richmond.
You could walk everywhere.
And you just can walk to, you know, the park and the river, and you can walk to a restaurant, and you can walk, you know, to a cinema, or, you know, 20 minutes we can be at the cinema or a theatre. But in LA, it's just, you have to get in a car.
I remember my first day coming to America in general, which was LA. I rented a place in West Hollywood. Obviously, everybody who comes to LA first stays in West Hollywood and moves soon after somewhere else, more quiet and peaceful place. So I didn't have a car, but when I saw this massive like Sunset Boulevard with massive cars, because somehow American cars are just big, and then in the middle of the day I just needed to buy some food, and I'm in this new country all by myself, and I'm walking to Rob's, whatever it was, and it was about like midday, 1 p.m. There was nobody walking on the street. It's like in the middle of the day. I was embarrassed to walk to the shop, which was probably 10-15 minutes walk, and there are only cars everywhere. Everybody's driving and I'm walking, and I feel like everybody's watching me. You have this feeling when you are walking alone on the street, it's really, really weird because it's in the middle of town and nobody's walking.
It is right. Actually, a few times I got stopped by police asking me if I was okay.
In the middle of the day?
In the middle of the day and at night. And I got stopped once for crossing the road. It's called jaywalking, right?
Yeah, well, you can get a big ticket for that.
Yeah.
It's like about $500.
But I was pretty prepared because obviously I'm an actor.
So did you put your British accent?
I did. I went, what's going on, geezers?
This is Cockney.
Yeah. I'm going to teach some Cockney. And like, are you okay there, sir? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just heading back home.
You didn't say that.
I did. I played pure kind of London, and I was like, oh sorry, so I didn't realise anything. They basically explained to me that I could be fined for crossing the road, not at a crossing. So
it's very kind of them not actually writing you a ticket.
Yeah, I was explaining to them in London, you cross where you want, mate.
No way.
But in a very polite way to the officers, but they were cool.
They probably said, repeat that again, I like your accent.
But yeah.
Don't people say that?
Yeah.
When you go like to a coffee shop, oh, can you say that again, please? I love your British accent. I don't have it.
It can happen. It's happened in auditions. I've been to an audition, I've gone in as an American, as they tell you to do, and then I've broken into who I really am, and then the casting have gone, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from London. Can you do the audition again, but as a Brit?
Yeah.
And then you just do the auditions,
and they love it.
And they prefer that, and you get hired for that. But yeah, cars versus walking. So I think LA.
I didn't have a car my first 2 years in LA. I was walking to all my courses because I kind of rented next to the school I was going to. But it was very weird to walk because like people who were studying with me in class would stop and say, hey, do you need a ride? And you're just walking alone in the middle of the day. And then I got a bicycle, which is actually, I think it's not very safe to take the bicycle. It's just cars everywhere. I'm kind of scared. I used it a little bit and then it's just, that's it. And after like only on the third year, I think I got a car.
Yeah, so I was Airbnb-ing a lot. Over the last 7 years, so I kind of got really clear about the area I wanted to stay in, and I could walk to the dance studio because I was doing a bit of tap dancing, the boxing gym, random stuff, and then the gym, which is Gold's Gym. So kind of my little triangle, and then from there I was training at Second City, and I was training with a few other people. And
so everything is like walking distance.
Yeah, I could walk to everything, so I didn't really need an Uber unless I was going out.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
Uber is handy because it was first in 2012 I didn't know about Uber. I was like from another planet and I used normal taxi, which was very expensive, and then I discovered Uber. Yay!
So on that point, so being in America and being a British citizen, visas. So you want to work in America, so
God.
you need a visa, and this is actually a really important topic.
Yeah.
So I my first kind of like 2-3 trips in America, I first went out with no visa. I went to find out about it, how it all worked, and what opportunities were there. And I met with some agents, some managers, and I realised that I would need a working visa, which is predominantly an O1 visa.
You started with that one.
Yeah, and the next step up to that is the green card. But I went out the first time and just kind of took a view, and I thought, well, I doubt I'll get a green card, so I probably have to pursue an O1, which, by the way, is time-consuming, expensive, and if you don't have credits, it's hard to get. So I pursued that, and
now it's even worse. Now since the government changed, it's even worse. Like O1, you spend all that money, it doesn't even have much value anymore.
Yeah. So, but that was the thing. So getting an O1 visa is one thing, but can you actually get work with an O1? Well, you can get some work, but it's getting harder and harder in the sense that, like, a lot of networks are asking for green card only. Yeah. So I'd worked on a couple of things. I'd been, supporting or leading a few films, and then I was recurring on a series, an American-funded kind of produced series, and that, along with my physical background and writing and all the rest, allowed me to helped me to get a green card.
But I think I would suggest to people who've never been to America to just explore that. Like, first go and I get a lot of questions from my friends in different countries, like, how do you do? It's just, I think my first suggestion is just you go there as a tourist and explore.
Yeah.
Do you even like the place?
The vibe, the environment.
Because maybe do some courses, maybe do like a couple of weeks a course of some workshop, which is very useful, and see the town and see if you actually like it, because it's not for everybody, and also sometimes it's better to work in your own country. Personally, I never thought I will move to America, but when I went there, it took me a couple of months. First couple of months were like, oh, I really miss my family, I miss Europe, and then I loved it. Then I just decided I'm gonna commit to it, I'm gonna work here. So I think before you do like O1 and spend all that money on applying, and it's very time consuming, you just go for a trip and see the situation, and then do the next step.
But the other thing, I went there as a mature actor, and this is one core kind of value point I can offer you, and it's just know who you are, because you'll go there and you'll meet people, and they want you to be a bit like this and more like that, and and actually your power is you. So I went to these management meetings and these agency meetings, and they were like, oh, you remind me of Clive Owen and a bit of Tony Curtis and a bit of Jude Law, and but they just weren't interested in like Cengiz Dervis. It was like, if you were a bit more like this or a bit more like that. And so it's finding your tribe and finding the right people who believe in you as much as you do. Number one, don't try and go and conform, because you'll just be lost in a big pond or a big ocean, because there are so many people out there trying to make it in some shape or form. And I think that the best way is just to lean into yourself and just be authentically you. Explore it, and then consider visa, because a visa is time consuming, it's very expensive to get, and it's just making sure that if you do that route, go with a reputable law firm that will best advise you and get you visas and stuff. But so London versus LA. So first, we've touched a few things, but obviously for me, I love to walk places, and I find the whole car culture is kind of like it kind of is a negative for me, but California as a state is unbelievable.
It's stunning. If you go outside the town, you have nature. You can go skiing, like 2 hours drive from LA.
So check this out, right? You can be in Hollywood, you can drive an hour one direction, and you can be on the beach, Malibu, Santa Monica. You can drive 2.5 hours in another direction, and you can be in the mountains skiing. Or
you could go to Joshua Tree. We went there.
Or be in the desert.
And that's lovely and relaxing. Just enjoying the stars, no lights. So the nature is really beautiful.
You can step out of the kind of hustly bustly vibe of the sea. Also, and it has to be said, there's a lot of homelessness in LA. especially in Hollywood
town.
and down at Santa Monica, and I find that it's quite upsetting. It's quite because it's around you like.
Yeah, you could just go. You see all this fancy restaurants, and outside, homeless people.
And they're like tents. I mean, I've walked down the streets with there are just tent after tent after tent.
Yeah.
Of homeless people. I've seen so many people living in their cars.
True.
And you're just wondering, are these people who came here, Bright Lights Big City, with that kind of goal and dream to make it as an actor or a singer or a producer or a writer? I don't know, but it's hard to be around every day.
Like, probably it's also because the town itself is very tempting, and because it's so many people would come with one objective. I don't know, be a creative or a writer, whatever, and then they just get deviated from their main goal, and they just go either partying or get into drugs. So I don't know. I saw a lot of lost people, and you don't know their story unless you start a conversation. But there are people who just talk to themselves and be very strange or violent on the street.
Yeah, I mean, saying that though, we should talk about crime. I mean, obviously, LA's a big city and London's a big city, and there's crime in both cities. I have to say, I've never experienced any major crime in LA. I mean, there was two incidents. One incident, I woke up one morning to the sounds of like clicks, and I know kind of a lot about weapons and stuff, and I was like, that sounded like guns being clocked. And I kind of quietly leaned and looked out one of my windows, and there was a whole bunch of police and a SWAT team gearing up to go across the road. And that was weird. That was the first time I've seen it. And then they just took this whole building and then brought out about 8 hours later.
Did you see that? All of it?
Yeah, and I
Did you get out of your apartment?
No, I was housebound for a couple of hours, and then eventually they put like these kind of barriers off, and then about 8 hours later they brought out some Mexican guys when I was back in the evening, carrying on with the live soap that was going on my doorstep.
Wow.
But yeah, I've never really experienced any I've never felt kind of threatened.
Yeah,
in
it probably
Hollywood.
depends also where you go.
But you kind of.
Personally, thankfully I didn't experience any of that.
But it's there. You have to keep your wits about you, and you have to be sensible. I mean, when I was filming in New York, I had some incidents, and that was kind of interesting because I didn't. When I went to LA, I thought, okay, keep wits about you. It's a kind of tough city. There's a lot of gun crime, etc., etc. And actually, when I was in New York, I experienced some stuff. I actually had to confront some stuff, and that was very strange because I was kind of caught me off guard because I didn't expect for that to happen in New York. But hey,
that was in an underground, right?
Yeah, but we won't talk about it next.
No, that's going to be a New York topic.
I'm still here, it's fine, and thankfully, I can kick facts.
Exactly. How about healthcare? There is a massive subject, especially when you're pregnant.
That's a massive, expensive subject. Healthcare, which I guess a lot of people, unless you're as an actor, if you're working in the union, so we're both SAG actors.
Yeah, that's also another thing to touch. Healthcare, I think you have to have this insurances, and the basic coverage, the minimum coverage, I think it would be about $100 a month. This is really minimum.
Yeah.
But if you have proper coverage, I know people who paid from 500 to 1,000, like new moms, to cover
just to have what you get with the NHS.
Yeah, so that's a massive value, which I grew up in Italy, and that's free healthcare. And then being here in London, it's also free healthcare. And going to America is scary because, for us, we get an insurance, but it's scary to live there and say without a health insurance.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's really free because we're paying taxes, but
true.
It is,
but you pay taxes in LA as well.
Sure.
Massive taxes.
Yeah, and you pay. Yeah, so that's something to bear in mind as well if you're going to position yourself there. But if you become part of the union and you earn, what's the rate now? 20,000, 25,000?
You have to do SAG-AFTRA projects about 20,000 a year to qualify.
and then you get subsidised healthcare,
Yeah.
which is really, really good.
Yes.
So-
Yeah. So that's a good one to have. But if you don't qualify, you have to go to other insurances which are really pricey. So that's a massive disadvantage in US not to have healthcare. Well, we could talk about unions since we started. An
So-
advantage though.
Why
for
did you
US,
join? Why did you join the union? I'd like to know.
Why did I join?
Why did you join SAG-AFTRA?
Not why, how? Like
Okay,
after.
well, okay. For those actors out there, it's no easy feat. I actually got a letter that from them, which I was like quite proud of because it was like a must join.
Yeah.
And actually, to have achieved that was like a big step forward in my career because I dreamed about being able to work on the kind of projects that I'm going up for now, and to get a letter from the union saying you must join us.
Yeah, exactly. I got
That's
that
cool.
letter once I shot Lethal Weapon, the TV series. I joined the union and I was very, very happy because it was on my wish list for many years. And obviously it's a massive step forward because we do all like non-union jobs to grow into our craft and have experience, and then when you finally get this union, first you become union, and it's a strong union if you compare it to European ones, because
Yeah, it's very powerful, and you're paid sensibly, which
Yeah.
is which is very lovely and helpful. And coming from independent film and fringe theatre, and it was always the goal to get into that professional realm, and so yeah, I see the value in the union, and I support it, and I'm very proud to be part of it. So yeah,
yes,
pretty cool.
yeah, but every time I talk with other actors from other countries, we have the same complaint, like the union is not really helping much.
No.
And also like there's a lot of projects buyout in Europe where you don't get
No residuals.
so that's a disadvantage over like US union projects. That's why a lot of British actors just want to make it in US, I guess.
Yeah, I also it's the scale of some of the projects. I mean, it's lovely to work in productions that throw money at things, in the right things, not wasting money.
Yeah.
And I know you like me have worked in so many independent projects with no money, that you can only do those for so long, especially as you come to realise that is this ever going to see the light of day, and all that effort and energy that goes into supporting that project, and then you're lucky if you even see it
If it's
yourself,
distributed.
if it's distributed, or if you're even able to get any content from it so you can use it on a show reel to get the next job.
I have to say that the turnaround on union projects in US is so much faster. For example, you can book a guest star role today, and then you have to shoot it in 3 days.
Yeah, you're on set in 3 days.
While here in Europe, everything takes so much longer, at least from my experience. And I've been on big European projects, and I was booked in advance for jobs like 6 months before the project would start, which is nice because you get preparation time. But at the same time, it's like, okay, let's start, let's do it, it's time. While in LA, in 3 days and you're on set, but you have to be ready. Like every time you have to work out like in the gym with your skills and be ready when that day comes, and you have to be on set in 3 days. And then you already have the dates when it's going to be released, the timing, especially if it's a network project. And it's easy to get a copy of your footage. While with independent movies, as we both know, sometimes we have to chase the director or production, whatever. Can I have that footage? And when they get back to you after a year or two, you don't really need it anymore because it's kind of dated. Let's be honest.
True. I want to go back a little bit to the creative community, because again, we talked earlier on about the creative community, and the one thing that really stood out for me in LA was that I'd go into, and whenever we're there, you go into a coffee shop or a bar or a restaurant, you can always find people talking about projects they're working on, or somebody just sitting there working on a script or some illustration. But the interesting thing as well is who you bump into, kind of like at the supermarket or a coffee shop. I've had so many incidents where I've been at the gym and I've been next to Ron Perlman, Hellboy, and Handy
I've been
Grant.
at that gym.
You know,
We're not going to tell you which gym is
yeah.
that.
And then I've been at a coffee shop, just sitting there, you know, because it can be quite lonely a lot of times, and especially if you've got a lot of time in between things. And I'm working on something, and there's been someone standing there, but there's another table. So hey, do you mind if I join you? You've got anyone coming? No. Do you mind if I join you? No. And it's like, I'm not going to say who, but it's a big name, and they just sit down with you, and you're just chatting away. But it's kind of like the norm, because it's almost like a huge open working studio where people are just there. I think you said it once, it's like LA's your office, and it's kind of like, it's cool that, you know, that's kind of a cool way of putting it, that you know, it's a place to go and work, but you do bump into a lot of kind of well-known, or you see a lot of kind of faces, and it's like, oh, that's so-and-so. More so, I mean, obviously they're all in London as well, but kind of more so, they seem to be a bit more hidden in London, where in LA it seems to be just out in plain sight.
Yeah, and they're quite humble. At least my experience was meeting really humble actors who are well known. I don't know, for example, Ron Perlman or Al Pacino. You could get into a conversation. They're kind. And
Yeah, I've been outside. I've sat next to Reese Witherspoon and a bunch of well-known faces. I mean, the list is endless, but you're like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then going on to sets like Paramount and Fox and stuff like that, it's pretty, like, when you sign up, I've had auditions at Paramount, and you go and you sign at Paramount, you go in, you have an appointment, and that's
powerful, because you watched their movies since you were a kid, and now you are
and
on
you're
the lot.
there, and you're there and then you're recalled, and you go back, and you're like,
And then you got the job.
The job of my dreams. And then you get it or you don't get it, it doesn't really matter, because in that moment it was yours.
But talking about creative community, so a big difference for me was, well, you're a Londoner, so obviously for you it's easier because it's home for you. But for me, when I came first time here in 2012, it was quite difficult to get into a creative community, at least like find an acting circle or friends with the same goals, or even find somebody to help me with an audition. It was really difficult. So it took really a while to get into those groups of people. While in LA, I got pretty lucky. Well, first I went there because of the actor studio, so I felt like that was a family immediately, like first couple of days in America ever. And then I get this creative community who is so supportive and helpful, and reading scripts together and shooting auditions or short films. So that was really nice to have that base, and that group of supportive people, and some of them became like best friends for life, and also keep you focused, not getting distracted by all the bars and all the events and the parties. Just no, I'm here for this, and I want to learn my craft, and whatever this next step. So that was really, and also you mentioned before about like being proud of your roots or where you're coming from. So I had that in that community of at the actor studio, that people really were interested where I'm coming from.
I tell you what, at some point I encourage Silvia, but I'd really love to hear Silvia talk about her journey from Moldova under communism to Italy to London to LA. I mean, seriously, empowering for young women to hear what she went through to get herself to where she got, and I have so much respect for this woman.
Thank you.
Obviously I love her too, but getting to know her over the years, and just, I think at some point that would be a really great conversation, just to listen to your journey, because I think there are people out there who need to hear it, because it will just lift them, because you've proven that things are possible. And I've had a hard journey too. I've come from, and that's another conversation too, but I think those things are something we can talk about. We should write a note and say we should talk about this in some way, because I think that is one of the things that kind of brought us together, in the sense that we're kind of just quite clear about who we are. We're quite clear about what we want. But it's a hard road.
Yeah.
It's a hard road.
But LA, I have to say that those years spent there where I was studying and growing, that made me really aware of meritocracy, that you actually can achieve things if you work really hard and you're focused, and also being proud of my roots and my family, and I come from really humble background, so and just being really that knowing who you are, you often say, and just being proud and sharing your experience with the world. So, but that's next conversation.
Yes.
Next time, because
Let's do
I think for tonight we touched. It's just we could go on for hours.
Oh, we should talk. We must talk about scruffiness.
What about
scruffiness? Seriously, I've been in LA, so I love both places. I think my heart is in London.
But the office is in LA.
But the office is in LA. I love London, especially this area. But I have to say, I've been in situations in LA where I'm meeting certain people from certain industries, be it real estate or the entertainment business, and 9 times out of 10, I mean, so scruffy. Person turns up, never judge a book by its cover. Fair enough, but you know, I make an effort. Sometimes it's so hot as well, and you put a suit on, or you put a nice pair of trousers, pair of shoes, and you're still too hot. You want to be in shoes and sandals, and they turn up in shoes and they turn up in sandals and shorts, so scruffy, like they're off the beach. And I'm like,
I should have done that. No.
I should have just done that. I should just kick back and done that. Interior designers, we've experienced it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're like, I'm not sure that. I mean, it's cool, but kind of sometimes I would like someone to be a little bit.
We just really don't a lot of people don't really care about making themselves like putting themselves together in some nice clothes. I think as long as it's clean and not smelly, I think it's okay.
Yeah, but I've experienced it's almost like I've come out of the gym bit, but yeah, and that's been quite interesting. But obviously I've met some very well dressed people in LA, and some very, very interesting and well groomed, and have taught me a few things about fashion.
Oh really? How about that? The Chachet by
Cacharel by Cacharel.
Exactly, that's my French pronunciation. Leave it to that.
It's an aftershave. It's a nice one. I like it.
Yeah, you're not paid to advertise them.
True.
But I think we'll just, I would suggest if somebody who listens to this little video has questions about life in London and LA, just write them to our Facebook pages, and we'll continue the conversation. While next week we're planning to talk about something different. We're gonna talk about pregnancy. You're gonna question me.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of make it a regular thing. We might talk about preparation for roles. We might talk about martial arts, fitness training. We might talk about, I don't know, hair and makeup. But we're gonna just start to share a lot of bits and pieces.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about, and if it adds some value to anybody out there, then great. It's just a nice way to spend an hour, half an hour.
Yeah, and I think the conclusion of tonight, we'll keep living in both places. As for now, London, LA, a little bit of Italy. So we'll keep sharing these experiences with you guys. I think it's time to have a glass of wine, and I suggest you to relax.
I have
as
to take
well.
a long walk to press the stop button. But listen, know who you are. Whatever it is you want,
go get it.
little by little, brick by brick.